Come on, autofocus. This is the light that you would have seen me purchase at the beginning of the last video. I haven't got a softbox for it, so I can't really do much with, I don't think. It's just an ornament at the minute. Let's try it out. Let's see if it works without any diffusion. Looks all right. Woo! That is at full brightness and oh my, that's 25. How does that look? Let's go with that. I hope it looks all right anyway, because if the video's ruined already, then. We've all heard in the past few months about these rumours regarding two flagship mirrorless cameras from Canon. Back in April, these rumours were officially confirmed with an announcement from Canon of the R5 and the R6. And April was when I was considering whether to invest in another camera. I chose this, the Lumix S1. Now this R6 has been announced properly. It now begs the question, did I buy this camera too early? I spent a lot of time researching different cameras, and you can even see, and I think it's my second or third video, that I went through the Sony a7 III, the Lumix S1 and the Canon EOS-R, which was their mirrorless camera at the time that I was considering. My intention was to always get a good hybrid camera that can shoot really good video but then also have stills when I need it to. So in this video I'm going to go through the key specs for the Canon R6 and the Lumix S1, and then hopefully reach a decision on whether I did make a mistake buying the Lumix S1 a little bit too early. So let's start at the beginning. The Lumix S1 has a 24.2 megapixel sensor. So coming from a GH5, that's giving me a little bit of extra resolution for when I'm taking photos. The Canon R6 has a 20.1 megapixel sensor. Even though it's only 4 megapixels less, it is still quite a significant difference when you're a photographer who wants to edit and potentially rescale, recrop once you're in post. I'm sure 20 megapixel would have been enough and sufficient for a lot of photographers out there. However, the fact that the S1 has 4 megapixel more means that on paper, the S1 wins in this category. IBIS. With Panasonic's dual IS enabled, you can reach up to 6 stops of stabilization. The Canon R6 is claiming that it gives you up to 8 stops of stabilization, which, if that's true, that is an insane amount of stabilization. Bear in mind, for those two figures, you'll need to pair the camera with their native lenses, so the RF lenses for the Canon and the L-mount lenses for Panasonic. However, if you don't intend to use native lenses on either of these cameras, then they're both on par with one another, giving you 5 stops of internal body image stabilization. Generally taking stills with these cameras, the R6 will naturally be superior to the Lumix S1. Canon's dual pixel autofocus will always take some beating, and that is one of the main reasons why I personally was quite hesitant when choosing whether or not to go with Canon as my next camera purchase. I will admit, having great autofocus at hand on a gimbal, for instance, would have helped me out a lot when it comes to shooting weddings. But I have actually just ordered, and it's arrived today actually, the DJI focus motor for the Ronin S. And personally, I feel more confident using a follow focus system rather than relying on the autofocus technology that cameras have. There are a few other areas where the R6 beats the S1. The colour science is stunning straight out of camera. The burst mode on the R6 is greater than the S1 as well. I think up to 12? It's saying 20 frames per second, but that's when using the electronic shutter. However, if you're using the mechanical shutter, you can only reach up to 12 frames per second, which still beats the S1. And also, Canon have done this really cool thing with their RF lenses where they have this additional ring. So as well as the zoom and the focus, you've also got a third custom ring on the lens that you can customize to whatever you want. So if you want to adjust your ISO on the lens, then you can. Viewfinders. A lot of you will know I'm a big fan of the S1 viewfinder. If you've seen one of my early videos when I'm looking at the S1 for the first time, you'll see me fangirling over the viewfinder in this camera. Testing this out yesterday, I was looking through it and I was like, oh yeah. So I want to raise it just to try and balance this out a little bit. The S1 has a 5.76 million OLED EVF screen, whereas the R6 has a 3.69 million EVF. So both of them still beat the a7 III when it comes to their electronic viewfinder. However, Panasonic wins on this one. When it comes to using autofocus in low light situations, Canon claimed to have an extra half a stop of exposure over the Panasonic S1. So apparently you can shoot up to 6.5 stops underexposed and the autofocus will still work. I don't know anyone who'd really be shooting 6.5 stops underexposed anyway in the first place. One thing that I am interested to see is Canon's claimed improvement in their battery life with the Canon R6 and the R5 respectively. They still use their well-known LP6 batteries, however, they've managed to do something with the software inside the cameras where they can still pack all the features that they're claiming of these cameras without a significant drop in battery life. So although Panasonic's battery is much bigger and claims to have about 33% extra juice than the Canon LPE6 batteries, it would be unfair to assume that Panasonic has the better battery life until we've done some tests on the R6. I love that feed when it just... So now let's talk about the video side of these cameras, and this is where things start to balance up a little bit more between the cameras. On paper, they both produce the following: 4K 60 internally, log recording, 10-bit 422 internal recording. You have IPB recording with Canon, and then you have long op recording with Panasonic, which are essentially the same thing. They're both a form of compression within the camera for when recording video. So if you wanted all intro recording, then I'd recommend either getting the R5 or the S1H, which are the bigger brothers of these two cameras that we're comparing today. Now with log recording, on Canon's website they're claiming that you can shoot in Canon Log 1. If this is anything similar to the Canon Log 1 gamma curve on the C300 Mark III, then you'll only be getting 13 stops of dynamic range in the camera. However, Panasonic uses the same V-Log gamma curve as the higher end cameras like the EVA1, so with this camera you get 14 stops of dynamic range. So for a more cinematic look, I'd probably go for this one instead. There's nothing on Canon's website regarding whether it can shoot in Canon Log 2 or 3, and those two gamma curves have improved dynamic range. Once the camera is actually released and people can use it, we may then find out whether it does shoot Canon Log 2 or 3 as well. When it comes to media storage, the Canon R6 uses dual SD card slots, and that was a process that I become very used to with the GH5. To me, it would have been better for the S1 to have dual SD card slots as well. Instead, this shoots with XQD and SD. So I am kicking myself a little bit, however, it's not a huge issue. And finally, the price is a key consideration for which camera you choose to go with. The price for the Canon R6 body is $2,500, both pounds and dollars. However, I bought the S1 for $2,400, and that came with the 24-105 lens as well. So if you're going to go with the Canon R6 and you need to buy your first RF lens to go with that, you're going to be forking out about $3,600 for the equivalent 24-105mm lens. Alternatively, there is always the option to buy adapters for both of these cameras. So whether you already own EF glass, you can purchase the appropriate adapter to then be able to use your Canon EF glass on either of these two cameras, and that's for an additional 100 quid roughly. For the Canon, if you want to purchase the adapter with the drop-in filters as well, that'll set you back £350. So when it comes to choosing which camera to go for, it ultimately depends on your personal usage that you'll get out of the camera. The main consideration that I recommend is to have a think about what is the balance of photo and video that you're going to be using with this camera. For me, I'm probably about 90% video and 10% photography, so the S1 seems like the most appropriate camera for me. However, if you're 90% photography and 10% video, then the R6 might be the right camera for you. For those who have a 50-50 split, it might be a more difficult decision for you to make. However, I do feel that Canon may have the edge when it comes to this specific audience region. For two reasons. Photographers are more generally considered to use autofocus as opposed to manual focus, so with the Canon having better autofocus, it makes more sense to go with them. Also, their colour science straight out of the body looks superb, so if you don't have much experience with colour grading video, then it makes more sense to get a camera that looks great as soon as you hit record. Personally, after going through that, I'm still happy with the choice of camera that I went with in the end. All we need now is another camera manufacturer out there to release their own flagship camera. I'm looking at you, Sony. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel, and if you do, I'll see you in the next video. If you don't, I may see you on the search results somewhere. But in the meantime, take care, and I'll see you all very soon.